Good morning, everyone. It's Tess, and today is tip 111. And I thought I would do today just a little bit different. The transformation challenge, and I posted the link to it a couple days ago in one of my tip in the morning. And Doc V's been he's opened it to everybody, and he's been talking a lot about like inflammation and what foods will help us keep our bodies healthy and what things to avoid. And I decided I'm gonna make a little bit of a fun twist to the stuff I've been learning the past couple days. And what I decided to do is, we all know that I got involved in gardening more last year as a way to have fresh fruits and vegetables. And as a way, it was a great therapeutic meditative thing to do in this past year of COVID. Well, what I decided today is, I know I've already mentioned, good morning. I know I've already mentioned that I actually grow my own lettuces, and I thought, well, how can I do something to improve my smoothies? And I know some of you probably heard me joke about the fact that I'm gonna, hi John, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. So I decided I'm gonna up-level my gardening a little bit, and I'm gonna try to figure out the best way to get an amazing harvest of strawberries and raspberries, and figure out how to do it in ways that I do get some of them, because last year I didn't even get one. So I actually did, like Doc V has encouraged us for the whole past year, I did some research on YouTube and found a couple of YouTube videos that kind of gave some pointers on how to grow berries. And what was kind of cool is, in the video we had yesterday, one of the top 8 fruits or vegetables, and the number one, I'm positive it was number one. Yeah, number one anti-inflammatory food, the number one that this woman talked about yesterday was berries of any type. And the antioxidants, and they're superstars, all the way around they're superstars. So I thought I better learn a little bit more about berries and what I can do to increase the harvest and try to save some of them for me. You know, I know nature's going to get a few of them, but I found out it's more than just the squirrels, and I didn't realize that. So the first thing it talks about is that I can actually, like, not this season, but next season. Oh, good morning, Joan. Next season, I can grow strawberries and raspberries together in the same area, which I thought was really interesting, because that, for most of us who have limited space, that's kind of a nice tool to get a double bang for the buck, so to speak. So what it talked about is that to grow the best strawberries and raspberries, the number one tip is that you need a sunny place, but there also has to be some form of shelter and well drained. And the shelter I'll kind of explain later, but it has to do with frost, because frost will impact a lot of plants. So number one, sun, well drained soil. The number two it talked about is don't plant in like an open frost area. Now, I'm in Michigan, and we have tons and tons of strawberry patches, so they must do some kind of protecting, and I'll have to look into that. I think it's the tenting that they talked about later in the video. But it says, the other thing that was interesting too is, it says don't plant your strawberries in a highly frosted area, or be sure you wait until after the frost is over, kind of try to protect them. But it also said do not plant strawberries where you've recently grown tomatoes, potatoes, or chrysanthemums, because there's some kind of a little bug connected to those plants that make it not as successful for growing berries. So I thought that's a good thing to know. So that's 2. Number 3 is, it says get started early, and like for somebody like me, it might be a good idea to get started indoors. And it says you can get your harvest up to 4 weeks early if you start early. The next thing it did kind of point out is you can grow strawberries and raspberries in pots, buckets, baskets, beds. Anywhere you want to grow them, you can grow them anywhere. I thought that, like I mentioned earlier, you can get them up to 4 weeks earlier, and you can get harvest longer if you start them indoors, or if you try to like tent them outside, some way to protect them a little and give them a head start. The other thing it kind of mentioned is make sure you give them space, because if you know anything about them, they kind of clump together, but they need air space to prevent mold. So you want to keep air space, and you want to kind of watch that as they grow together. It also talked about when the fruits start, and you know what, this one aha'd me. When the fruit starts to grow especially for the strawberries, when the fruit starts to grow, put hay underneath where the fruit is growing, because that will prevent the mold from getting the berries. And that was an aha, because I'm like, as often as I went strawberry picking, I do remember there's always hay underneath in the patch, all the way through the patch. They always have hay. So that's definitely a great tool. And especially if you're going to grow raspberries above them, you're going to want to make sure that you keep the moisture from damaging your berries. The last thing the eighth thing it talked about was put a net, like when you're growing your berries and they're starting to come in. And like I said last year, I kept seeing squirrels eating them. Well, what I didn't realize is I guess the birds are getting them too. So it said if you net them, that will prevent it. So whether it's those red rocks with the black dots on them that look like strawberries that will discourage them, or whether it's a net, that way you'll protect some of your harvest so that you can get something, sharing with Mother Nature. You get some, they get some. Then it also said, and this was a good thing to know too, collect your runners every year, because the harvest of strawberries is about, the good quality harvest lasts about 3 years. So you want to grab the runners, because every 3 years you're going to want to be replanting to keep your harvest full. And then it said, at the end of the season, when your berries are done, you need to trim back old leaves and remove the mulch, and that will get them ready for the next season. Also, in doing some research, I know I mentioned earlier in this that you can grow raspberries and strawberries together. And the way it recommends that is it kind of takes 2 seasons to get that to happen. And what they said is in the first season, you grow the raspberries, and they recommend getting a V trellis behind them and kind of train the canes to be up the V trellis. And that first season, you kind of establish that. Then the next spring, you can come in and you can plant your strawberries underneath those that are growing up on the raspberry canes that are on the V trellis. So you can actually use the same space for both. And then you just have to remember, as your berries are coming in, you want to get the hay underneath, and you might have to tent a little bit. And maybe it's easier to tent because maybe they won't be as visible to all of our birds if we're mixing them with raspberries, or maybe it's dual purpose and they'll eat some of each and you'll get some too. Because I laughed, last year I did not get one single berry, and I thought I was going to start to look at something a little bit more lighthearted. I know the past couple of days have been more serious, and I thought today I'm going to just make it lighthearted. What can I do just to have a few more fresh items out of my garden that make my green smoothies? Because any of us in the tribe know the green smoothie is our nutrient boost, and it's kind of fun to go out there and pick your lettuce and any fruits and vegetables, anything that you're going to put together in it. It's really kind of nice to have it in your own backyard. And I don't, people may say it's because you're the one who was growing it, but it does taste better and it feels good. It's therapeutic, and it just makes you feel like more in charge of your own life. So I'll kind of go through that real quick and then let you guys get back to your beautiful days. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching with me. So the first thing you can do is you can grow raspberries and strawberries together. They recommend start with your V trellises for your raspberries. Get them started like in the fall, or if you start in this spring, you're going to want to wait on your strawberries till next year. But you can grow the canes up the V trellis, and it kind of keeps them directional. Then the next season, you can grow your strawberries underneath. The tips about strawberries to keep them healthy is you want a place of sun and shelter from frost in a well-drained soil. They recommend that you don't plant where there have been tomatoes, potatoes, or chrysanthemums, because there are diseases connected to that make a good harvest of strawberries or raspberries not as fruitful. Fruitful, hey, isn't that funny? Order early and get started early. If you want to start inside your house, you might be able to get your strawberry harvest started 4 weeks early. Strawberries can be grown in pots, buckets, baskets, and beds. And like I said, you can do it with your raspberries and get 2-for-1s. Give them space. Strawberries, you want to give space. Don't put too many plants together, because when they get all clumped up with those big leaves covering them, that creates an opportunity for mold to damage your berries. When the fruit starts to grow, put hay underneath it. It'll help also eliminate it will reduce the amount of opportunity for mold to get in. You might have to net some of your strawberries to save them from the squirrels and the birds. And then as you're seeing the runners pop out, clip those, because then you can plant them, and every 3 years you want to kind of be recycling your beds, because the harvest of strawberries kind of needs to be replenished every 3 years to get the best harvest. At the end of every fall, trim back the old leaves, remove the mulch, and then that will get you ready for the next spring. I hope this is my lighthearted day. It's a Sunday. I want you guys to have a beautiful day. And I wanted to do just a little tweak, because Doc V has been challenging on everybody in the tribe to go live. And I wanted to just look at things a little different and go a little bit lighter today. So I hope you have a beautiful day. And if you haven't thought about it, try a green smoothie. For those that don't know, we call it a green smoothie just because we add lettuce to it, but we still put our fruits in it, and it tastes really good. And it's not really green when you get done with it. Add some blueberries and some bananas, and you'll end up with this beautiful purple smoothie, and it'll give you an energy boost that will carry you beautifully through the day. So thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. And for those of you involved, I'll see you in the Transformation Challenge later today. Thank you. Bye-bye.